evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I'd like to go to number 3, awards and recognition.
Well, and. All right, are we good? Okay. Regretfully, our student that we were going to recognize was unable to be here, but the positiveness is that he's out making money. He's doing real things that are positive for him and his family. I was wanting to still share that I do have a challenge scorer ready for our 2-time state esports champion and now 2-time challenge scoring recipient, Trenton Pigg. He's a senior at Great Crossing High School, and he's just won his 2nd state title in KHSAA Madden Esports Championship. And as I like to tell everybody, he is the only Scott County School student that I'm aware of who has beaten Trinity in football. Coach Shelton, take that back. Let's take that back. Because I've been waiting, I figured Coach would appreciate that one. So, but at any rate, I do have this for Trenton, and we are proud of him. And again, it looked like with him starting a new job, work schedule, we didn't know when, if ever, we'd be able to get him in. So I did want to just go on and share that. And like I said, I'll swing by Great Crossing High School and present that at a time that makes sense here in the next couple weeks.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Number 4, fiscal year 2023, financial audit report completed by Barnes Denning.
Okay. Turn down that volume.
Good evening, thank you for joining us.
Good evening. My name is Daniel DeMonte. I'm an assurance manager with Barnes Denning. You should have a copy of the audit report, and this would be useful late night reading for you all, I'm sure. I'm going to go over the PowerPoint presentation that kind of highlights the results of the audit. We're pleased to serve Scott County as the independent auditors and hope to continue to do so for years to come. Our planned audit scope was an audit of the June 30th, 2023 financial statements with a single audit compliance over major federal programs.
That should work with.
Great, thank you. Some required communications about auditor and management responsibilities. The financial statements are the responsibility of the district's management. We as auditors perform risk-based auditing, so we provide reasonable but not absolute assurance. We find the riskiest areas to perform our tests, and we do so to not look at every transaction, every invoice, every payroll, that sort of thing. The internal controls are the responsibility of management. As part of our audit, we considered internal controls, but it was not an internal control audit, so we do not provide any assurance over those. And then there's some more detailed auditor and management responsibilities in the engagement letter that can be made available to you all. On the executive summary page here, we have that we issued an unmodified or clean opinion on both the financial statements and the major federal programs. That is a clean opinion, the best opinion you can get. We tested 2 different federal programs, Title I and the Education Stabilization Fund, which includes ESSER, which you may have heard of. We received excellent cooperation from Gina and the rest of the staff. We performed the audit remotely, so we get everything from an online portal. She shares things, we download them and accept them, and but it was a streamlined process that way. No disagreements or difficulties were encountered during the audit, and there were no consultations with other independent accountants, or else we would communicate that to you. In the financial statements, there are significant accounting policies described. There was a new accounting policy, this GASB 96. It is the Subscription-Based Information Technology Arrangements, or SBITAs, I believe is the acronym. Basically, if there's a long-term agreement over subscription-based IT agreements, they're similar to leases, so we're supposed to capitalize the lease obligation for the period of time that the contract is for, and you recognize an asset. So it's kind of an offsetting thing on the balance sheet. So we did do some extended procedures surrounding that new standard. We found that there was not many contracts or any at all, so there was not a material impact. So, and that is described as well in the financial statements that we looked at this and there was no real change. Internal accounting estimates that are provided to us from management for the audit is depreciable lives of capital assets. No internal control matters are reportable, and we are not aware of any fraud or legal acts that would require communication, or else we would do so. And then other written communication can be made available to you with the management representation letter as well. So now I'm going to go over just some high-level kind of financial information, some trends. As you can see there, some big increases in 2023 on the statement of net position district-wide. Increases really relate to the bonds that were received in 2023, created an increase in cash, and then obviously the construction in progress that took place last year. And there were two bonds that were received that increased the liabilities and deferred inflows, the 23 and 22 bond, approximately $130 million with those two bonds. And the net position slightly increased with revenues exceeding expenditures, which is shown on this page. Now the district-wide financial statements include many things that the fund financial statements that are prepared out of Munis by the accounting department. One of those things is the pension and OPEB liabilities that changes some of the expenses and revenues. So, you know, looking at this doesn't exactly reflect what is showing out of Munis. But there were increases in revenues and expenditures in 23 compared to prior year, mainly related to state and federal sources, and we'll see that also in the general fund. We look at that individually as well in the slides upcoming. So similarly, the general fund here, we see some increases in cash for the assets and accounts receivable. Liabilities have remained relatively low for the general fund for the past few years, and revenues exceeded expenditures once again for the increase in fund balance in 23. And then you'll see a similar trend here to the district-wide, but the general fund revenues over expenses, again, increasing due to those federal and state sources. There were some increased earnings on investments with the interest rates being so high. And this does not include any interfund transfers or other financing sources or uses. And my last slide here is just the revenues over expenses for food service. Food service as a proprietary fund does include their pension and OPEB liability, so that does factor into here. That changes a little bit of the revenues and expenditures. But there were increases in expenses to salaries and related benefits, also materials and supplies. There was a decrease in the federal grants revenues in 2023 by approximately $2 million, but lunchroom sales did increase by a significant amount, almost $1 million. That can offset the decrease there. And that is all I have. I am open to entertain any questions, or if you have comments. Questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5, approve deed of easement contract between the City of Georgetown, Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer Service, and Scott County Board of Education.
Move.
All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, approve 2023-2024 school bus purchase proposal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, move to closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)F to discuss student disciplinary matters.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Hump right here.
All right.
Well,
If you go for a minute.
We good, Candace?
Yes.
Okay, she's recording.
okay. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. May I have a motion?
First, you want to go back into.
Move.
That's what I need to go back in, yes.
Second.
Sorry, that's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are back into session.
I would like to make a motion to accept Superintendent Parker's recommendation to expel the student from Scott County Schools for 1 calendar year with services. And pursuant to district policy, the board will review the student's status within 30 days of the expiration of the expulsion.
And maybe Superintendent Parker can explain, he'll be in contact with the family about services and the review period. Part of what that means is that at the end of the year, 30 days before the end of the year, the board's going to take a look at the situation again and see that they're good with everything coming back to status quo at the end of the expulsion. But if you have any questions about services, about the expulsion period or anything, I'm sure Mr. Parker would be glad to answer any questions. If you want to reach out and be in touch with him this week and answer any questions about that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. No, you can vote to go back into closed session to deal with the next one.
I would like to move that we transfer into closed session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Now,
Now you can.
now you can turn it
Because we're
over.
going into closed
Yeah,
session.
that's what I. Back into, do I have a motion to go back into open session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Am I making this a motion?
Yes,
Okay.
just use initials, or not initials, just Great Crossing student.
I move to expel the student for a period beginning on 12/5/23 and ending on 12/5/24 from the classroom setting, but to continue to provide educational services. The board does have discretion, rather, to provide conditions for the additional educational services.
Second.
We're good.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
And so I've learned from that previous one, we don't need to make the statement that we're going to review it because the
By
Policy
statute,
now
it's
demands it.
automatic.
yeah, we have to do it.
Yes.
Correct.